Hello, and welcome to another week at the bungalow. So we're on that final straight to try and get the bungalow watertight. It's the last of the roof works. This week we're looking mainly at the ridge. We're starting a bit of lead. We've got some pointing to do around the chimney, so we're a bit all over the shop and lots of different things to do. So the last of the breathable membrane to begin with gets trimmed back to make it a sort of sensible size. We're having to tie in the two different sorts of roof, which isn't the easiest job in the world. So our ridge is going to be a dry ridge, or a ventilated dry ridge rather than a traditional wet ridge. This is to give some ventilation to that flat roof and also the pitch. So from the investigation we've done when choosing the sort of system we were going to use, they all seem much of a muchness, incorporating some sort of upstand that holds a batten in place with a waterproofing, breathable sheet that goes in between, and then the ridge tiles are clamped down. We'd gone for a clay ridge tile, mainly because it matched in with the tiles that we had, or the colour of the tiles had gone the best. I think when it comes to the benefit of hindsight, I'd have gone for something slightly more regimented, even though the ridge system we purchased was for clay ridge tiles. I think we'd have gone for a concrete ridge tile rather than the clay. Mainly because they're exactly the same and you don't have any, the handmadeness of the clay tile does tend to make it more difficult to set them in place. But anyway, all of this with the benefit of hindsight. So we fixed down the metal cleats, they fix down onto the rafters, and then we have a batten that slots in place, and then the metalwork holds that down. The battens used gives that continuous timber work, so it doesn't matter where the tiles end, you can screw down through the plastic waterproofing piece into the batten and get a decent fixing. I mean, it does happen that you sometimes hit the metalwork. I mean, that did happen to us, but nevertheless, pretty much it works really well. So more tiling to do, filling in the gaps we'd left. So these are the ones before the cloakers. Cloakers go on top of these before the ridge. And then because it's the top row, we decided to screw all the tiles in. So a liner screws along the top. I think, to be honest, when we took it all off, there was a very few nails in the whole, all of the tiles. So it is a bit belt and braces what we're up to. And then the last of the battens go in. This is on the slanted piece that we did when we were doing the flat roof. It's got a sort of 45-degree angle on it, and meant that it would kick up the tiles on this side and allow the water to drip off and then run down the roof without causing too much problems. So it's waterproof right up to the ridge. So really the tiles are more decorative than they are actually stopping any water coming in. So while I'm up on the roof doing the nice clean bit, Claire's down here doing the proper work, cutting all the tiles, ready for us to put up onto the roof. And this is dirty, grotty work, back breaking, angle grind. I think there was a couple of hundred tiles in the end that needed cutting, so proper Trojan. And meanwhile, the dog was having a particularly tough day, snoozing in his bed. Oh, sorry about that, Bono. Woke you up. So all those tiles, Claire had spent all that time cutting. We start screwing up onto the ridge. So we've got the sort of cloaker underneath. Almost full tile on top, but they all had to be trimmed slightly just to keep them off of the grey waterproofing paint. We didn't want any sort of scratching to occur, which could obviously cause a leak, so they're actually suspended slightly above. There's about a 10-15mm gap. And then we brushed off the tiles just to get the dust and the layer off the top, because the breathable membrane, or the ventilated membrane that goes underneath the ridge, has to stick down onto it, or temporarily up until the point you clamp the tile down. So as with the other side, all of these are screwed in place. Stop any sort of problems with them. Bit of a laborious one, this one. And a bit more brushing down the tiles to make sure it sticks. And then there was some thought process associated with actually trying to get these tiles to clamp and for it to work. But before we finally rolled out the breathable ventilated part of it. So we tacked this down with a couple of staples in the centre, just to hold it in place. That centre part's all covered up and so it's completely watertight. As you can see, there's like perforations to either side, which obviously ventilates it, and then you've got the plastic edging that that sticks down and then holds it in place. So critical part here, cutting through the breathable membrane to give us the ventilation gap up into the ridge. So the last bit gets rolled out, or gets us to about the centre of the roof, and that gets tacked down. And then we peel back the edging piece. It's like a corrugated aluminium, I think. I suppose it tends to deform as you push or as the tiles get clamped down, it deforms and gives a decent watertight seal. Just stop the rain driving up and over that top tile. So this is the part we'll also be starting work on this week. The final waterproofing of the last corner of the roof. So we've got some lead work obviously to go around the chimney, and then the edging and last piece of ridge. Not going to lie, but not been looking forward to this. I mean, we were waiting for the jackdaws to leave the chimney, but nevertheless. So we started doing some of the pointing a little while ago. As you can see, the top bit's been completed, and we sort of worked our way about halfway down, but left this until we started the lead, so we knew where it was going, so we didn't actually repoint stuff that we'd end up digging out again. So Claire's clearing out the mortar joints, and the lead work that we'd ordered had arrived. We got this purpose made, so it's all been welded, for want of a better word, together. So it's the right pitch for the roof, the 42.5 degrees, right size for the chimney at 800mm. The side pieces, the step flashing, we'd actually cut ourselves, and you'll see that on the next video, I think. But just a trial fit, just to make sure we're not done anything too silly, and the tiles are all going to fit around nicely. So as I'm test fitting the lead at the back, Claire's pointing up front of the chimney just to get it complete. So the pointing wasn't absolutely terrible on the front, but really we'd done all the sides, the topper was all done, and it was just this front face that sort of, I suppose, spoilt it because it didn't look the same as the rest. So we decided to trim it all out and repoint. so it matched in with the rest. So with all the mortar work on the roof, we're using cement and lime. We've got a 6 sand, 1 lime, 1 cement. So it makes it nice and light with the lime in it, and sort of relatively soft. I think the idea is for it to be weaker than the tile. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that's the case. So these just get bucket handled in, the same as the rest of the house. And this will be the last bit. This won't actually get rendered, so we're rendering the rest of the house, but leaving the chimney as brickwork. So a few tiles around the bottom of the chimney, just to complete that. And mean that we can get the bottom lead work on. So like I say, I had this made, ordered online, turned up in a couple of days, absolutely brilliant. For anybody that's interested, I'll stick a link to the website in the description. But yeah, really easy. And just meant that you've got a decent waterproof lead work all the way to the bottom. I mean, like I say, we're not experts, and so cutting and shaping lead into place isn't a speciality of ours. So back onto the ridge, a few tiles go in place, get the spacing right. A few more tiles go down in place. You're always balancing between getting the job done and getting the tiles in place, and not putting stuff in your way and making your life more difficult, and then having to take it apart just because it's in the way. As you can see, I'm kneeling on a towel. The Ultraflex has got so hot in the sunshine. I think it was about 28-30 degrees on this day that we chose to do the roof. So this is the ventilated roof or dry roof system. So you can see we've got clay tiles. They sit down on top of the ventilated waterproof membrane, for want of a better word. And then there's plastic infill pieces that sit between the tiles. And these sort of divert the rain that falls onto the rain that falls onto the tile, diverts it and kicks it out the bottom. So you've got the waterproof part of the actual tile, and then the joints are waterproof by the plastic pieces. And then you have a stainless steel bolt that goes all the way through and down into the batten that we put down first, and that clamps it all into place. As I said before, it would work really well, or I'm sure it works a lot better with nice regimented, consistent concrete tiles. We went for these clay ones just because they sort of match the dirty areas of the original tile that we had, and it married in nicely. But really, I think I'd look for something concrete next time, just to make your life a bit easier. It just took a bit of shifting around and swapping a tile to get it to look right. But with that said, work is progressing nicely, and it's the end of another week. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again on the next one.